All right, let's dance through the sensitive conversation that is Collingwood unpopular opinions. I want to quickly preface, ladies and gentlemen, for you watching, please bear in mind when we talk about these unpopular opinions of the present day, I am mindful that we have just won a premiership in 2023. Completely respect that. I cherish it. We'll look back fondly at those moments, but we are now concerned of the present moment, which is the situation where Collingwood are unlikely to play finals, and we're looking ahead and reflecting upon what we've experienced in 2024. And also, if you don't see your unpopular opinion in this video, I do apologize. Not really. It's probably because multiple people have doubled up and I've just selected one, or maybe your unpopular opinion is not that unpopular. So, Mark Smith. McRae said at the end of last season he had some tricks up his sleeve, some new things he wanted to try. I saw nothing new develop. I'm curious as to what they were. Our big problem was our forward line. Nothing changed there. If it's delivery into the forwards or forwards not leading correctly, 100 points scored should be every... Mark says 100 points scored should be the goal every week. Okay, a little bit to unpack here. So McRae indicates at the end of the year, last season, that he has tricks up his sleeve to add to our bow, essentially, moving into this year. Look, as mentioned many times before this year, Collingwood have struggled to move the ball, and that was our one wood last year. So Craig naturally had foreseen there to be a need to adapt and add new strategies to our game. We almost became more of a forward half stoppage team at times when we were going well this year. And then when that wasn't working, we were just a team that couldn't get out of our defensive half. We would concede goals that would originate in our defensive half. So that is something we've struggled to deal with, and that is reflective upon our second half of our year, where we just couldn't get enough inside 50s going our way, and on the other side conceding far too many inside 50s, which talks to our inability to move the ball and teams studying the heck out of Collingwood. And 100 points scored per week, as Mark suggests, would have been his benchmark going into this year. I think there's actually an unpopular opinion that I want to tie into this, and it was something along the lines from Stefanos Arthuritis. The lack of big winning margins was also his unpopular opinion. Is it a matter of we're not that great of a premiership side relative to the others who have come before us, your Geelongs, your Hawthorns, Sydney, Bulldogs, Melbourne? Or is it the fact that as resources and standards become higher and higher in the modern day of the sports world, it's harder to pump teams on a consistent basis and have a percentage of 150 by the time the season's all said and done? So that's some food for thought. Are we a bad premiership side compared to others, or is the competition just much tighter and the margin for error is much smaller? Consider that. Old mate Digsby, one of the Pies Footy fan favourites, he says Sidey isn't the problem as his unpopular opinion. And obviously in recent times, I guess, we've put Sidey to the sword at times with his performances. And I think what we've learnt this year is there are a bunch of issues that we'll have to address in the off-season. Obviously, age being one of them. I think from the Pies Footy perspective, our conversation has been around, if we do have to push one of the oldies off the boat, who's it going to be? And if you're looking at Jeremy Howe, Mason Cox, still Sidebottom, Pendlebury, so on and so forth, Tom Mitchell, Sidey's probably near the front of the line there, because whether he's, I guess, good for another year or so or not, the problem is if we do a North Melbourne of 2016, 2017, whenever that was, and we just have this massive exodus of veteran players all at once, it's going to probably hinder us immediately, and it would probably prolong and delay the rebuild if there is one to occur. Then that's the problem with not parting ways maybe a little bit earlier than we should with players. Maybe, do you trade Sidebottom? I don't know, but that's just some conversation maybe we can extend in the comment section and in the next coming weeks, because I feel like that could get quite deep and there's a few things to turn over and talk about there. And then segueing from that unpopular opinion into the next one from Mark8860, injuries weren't really a major factor for us this year. For about half of the season, we've had minimal injuries, including the first and last 3 weeks of the season, and our performance has been poor in those games. It is intriguing, isn't it? We played our best footy when we had most of our players out. Mason Cox, Myercheck, Pendlebury, Tom Mitchell, Goey, Howie at certain points. And you wonder, when we get those 6 big ins for the Gold Coast game and beyond, you start licking your lips. We're in a top 4 position, and we've got all our big guns coming back into the team, and somehow we slide from there. And it was an inevitable, just a slide into the abyss, essentially. Even though we got Goey, even though we got Pendlebury back, and Mason Cox, and Nathan Kruger, and Dan McStay, it almost hindered us. Now, is that because we brought too many players back at once who were underdone? Was it a mentality shift where we're like, okay, we're in a top 4 position now, and we've got our big guns coming back. Let's take the foot off the pedal and we'll just cruise our way to the finals. And here we are today, and we're probably not going to play finals. So another one that's going to boggle our minds for the remainder of 2024 until we get to round 1 2025. And I suppose that's the way it goes. The next unpopular opinion is from TRBCL, and they say, Pies don't need a key tall. We need another powerful inside mid. Interesting. I guess McStay's got years in him left, I would hope. 3-4 years would be maybe a little bit more on the optimistic side, but he's still there. He's still good. I feel like since he's come back from his ACL, he's looked as good as new. Brody Myercheck where's he going with these injuries? Mason Cox, DC rolls forward as well at times. Kruger has a lot of potential. So I can see that argument being made there, and then suggesting we need another powerful inside mid. Ned Long, probably people are hoping for that man to be the heir apparent of Tom Mitchell, I suppose, and tying that in with Rocket's unpopular opinion, he says Titch is done and Ned Long is his replacement. So the jury's not out on that, in my opinion. I think we still need to see a bit more from Ned Long. But of course, I'm really hoping that Ned Long can replace Tom Mitchell in the long term. However, I'd like to see what Tom Mitchell has left in the tank next year, and then we can go from there. And then Thomas McGuire, although not maybe a powerful inside mid, he's someone we're looking forward to in the 2025 draft pool. And talking about that 2025 draft, the Laughing Magpie, another original from the Pies Footy community, says, we can afford to trade out our 2025 first round pick to climb into the 2024 first round draft pool, which is an interesting one. When we haven't probably spoken about that too much, but that's because of the changes in the draft rules recently. And maybe the Laughing Magpie, if you're watching, you can apprise us a little bit more in the comment section, because I'm not super familiar with the draft more than what it seems like you are. So you can shed some light on that. But so basically what he's insinuating is if we trade away our 2025 first round draft pick, we can still get Thomas McGuire and bite into this year's 2024 first round because of how deep it runs. So that's an interesting consideration that I'm sure Collingwood are going through the permutations about. And let's see where that one goes. Because, it seems like we can still stockpile later picks to trade up for our father-son selection in McGuire in 2025. The Laughing Magpie's next unpopular opinion is I would trade John Noble. He hasn't improved, still being beaten 1v1s, and gets spooked, and McRae is emotionally caught up with his crying episode. I don't mind John Noble as a second string ball user out of the back line, as long as someone like Josh Dacos has the keys to that responsibility. And then John Noble's his sort of side piece. He's Robin. Josh Dacos is Batman, and John Noble is Robin. Yes, I understand the conversation around Noble's panicky tendencies in high octane games and final series, so I see that. But I'd be happy to see Noble vindicate himself next year in the final series. We know what he can do in a regular season. He is a bit of a liability defensively 1v1, but that's something we go into the game knowing anyways. That's not his sole purpose in the back line. So we'll see what 2025 looks like for John Noble. I wouldn't trade him personally. Plus, what are you going to get from him? A second round pick, if you're lucky. So we'll see. And then on the conversation of more trades, Sinex, VX Sinex suggests to trade Lipinski and Charlie Dean. Lipinski, yes, he's been out of form the last 6-7 weeks. He's playing a difficult role in the forward line. We don't get much credit because it's a dogged role. Like, you're running a lot and the ball's always going over your head or falling short of where you are. So it can be difficult. I think if Lipinski is on the wing, it's a different story. Charlie Dean, still early days as well. I'm more than willing to see what he has in stores for Collingwood in 2025. So not ready to jump the gun on those two players. We move on to some of the Instagram unpopular opinions. And Wallop Fan, a big part of Collingwood social media, a meme generator, if you will. He suggests to trade a big fish for some currency to move forward with this ageing list. So big fish can only mean someone like Jordan De Goey. Hey, I love Jordan De Goey. I love what he's done for the club. I've loved his own story where he's able to, I guess, bounce back from the vitriol and I guess adversities that he's had to deal with. Obviously some from his own wrongdoings, but being young and I guess maybe ill-advised and hanging around the wrong people, he's made some bad decisions in his life, but it's all about how you come back from those mistakes that you've made. So I do love that story. So I'd be emotionally reluctant to give away Jordan De Goey, but if I extract myself from those emotions, if somebody wants to offer 2 first-round draft picks for Jordan De Goey, I would strongly consider it. And then lastly, Rocket. We already spoken about Titch being Ned Long's replacement. Ned Long being Titch's replacement. That was also an Instagram one. So if you want to get involved in this, guys, moving forward, you can either follow me on Instagram or just keep an eye on the community tab where I'm posting unpopular opinions. I hope I've gotten through this relatively unscathed, but if I've maybe turned a few heads with this, meet me in the comment section and we can go from there. I dodge no bullets. Pies Footy dodges no bullets. We remain impartial for a reason. Come have at it. Go Pies.